Hi guys, today we're going to be learning about an artist that a lot of you have probably heard of before, and his name is Vincent Van Gogh. Vincent Van Gogh is a very famous painter who was born in the Netherlands. He was born in 1853 and he died in 1890, which means he was only 37 years old when he died. So he was very young. And he was also someone who wasn't famous until after he died, which is kind of common with a lot of artists, especially back then. Also, he only started getting serious about making art in 1880. So that was when he was only 27 years old, and he only really did art for 10 years before he died, and still he's so famous today. He did lots of different things before he realized that art was what he liked to do. For a little while, he was a teacher. He also worked in a bookshop, and he also worked in an art gallery, which probably inspired him to do a lot of his art. He painted a lot of flowers and landscapes, and he did a lot of self-portraits. Because back then, if you wanted to paint another person, you would have to pay that person, they were a model, to do a painting of them. And he was very poor, so he wasn't able to pay a lot of models. So he did things that he could find around him, or again, just a picture of himself. He made over 900 paintings in just the 10 years that he liked to paint, which is a lot of paintings to do in 10 years. So you can tell he was very dedicated to art and he loved it a lot. However, Vincent Van Gogh was very sick. A lot of times he didn't pay attention to when he should be eating, and he didn't eat a lot because he would be so focused on his work, so that didn't help his sickness. He also had a disease that caused him to have seizures, which affects your brain. So it made him feel very confused and angry a lot of the time. Surprisingly, with how famous he is today, he only sold one painting in his entire life, and that was a painting called The Red Vineyard, which isn't even one of his most popular paintings today. His most famous painting is called Starry Night, but he has a lot of others that are very famous too. Some of those include his self-portraits, Cafe Terrace at Night, and his paintings he made of sunflowers in a vase, which is what we are going to be inspired by today when we make our artwork. One more important thing to know about Vincent Van Gogh is that he is what's known as an impressionist, which is his style of painting. Impressionists give the impression of movement and shape by using bold colors and quick movements with their brushes. If you look in his Starry Night painting, you can see in the sky there's lots of colors and shapes moving throughout the sky to give you the idea of both stars and also kind of the movement of wind. It's a little bit hard to do Impressionism when you're not using paint, but I'm going to show you how you can do it with crayons and markers today. Like I was saying, we're going to be inspired by Van Gogh's sunflower painting and make our own impressionist sunflower drawing using crayons and markers. Of course, if you have paint at home, you're welcome to use that, but what I wanted to show you is how you can do this kind of thing using materials you probably already have at home. So before we get started, you definitely want to get your paper, a pencil if you have one, crayons and markers if you have both. Color pencils will work, but crayons are a little easier. And then any other drawing supplies that you like to use, and let's get started. All right, so what we are going to do first is we are going to draw our vase here. So a little bit below the center of my paper, the center this way, I'm going to draw a line that goes out and then curves back. So it's almost like a point, but instead of it being pointy, it's round. And then on the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. So it's like a mirror image. There we go. The bottom will add a little bit of a curve to it, like a little bit of a smiley mouth. And then we're going to draw a line straight across that goes behind. And that's the line for our table our vase is sitting on. Now we're going to work on our flowers. So I'm going to start with like a big one. I'm going to do a circle like this with a smaller circle inside. And for my petals, you can do them all sorts of ways. In real life, sunflower petals are really wiggly and they're not super smooth. So I kind of curve out and then back. And this I'm going to curve out and then back and have them touch. You could also do petals like this, just one curved line and another curved line. Or they can just be really wiggly like that. Whatever you feel like doing, whatever is easiest for you. But for this one, because this sunflower is just a perfect circle, I'm going to do petals all the way around. You can do some behind or in between as well. All right, so we got one that's facing forward. Now let's try some of these that are facing to the side. You're gonna do a line that curves just a little bit, kind of like a parentheses, and then the other side is going to bump up and curve a lot more. The side that has the more defined curve to it, you're gonna do a little oval close to the edge. So this is like the back of the flower center, and this is the top, I guess. I'm gonna do a few petals, bigger petals, coming out from the back of this. Now, if it starts touching other flowers, you just carefully have them go behind. And then on this side, the front of the sunflower, I'm gonna do the petals quite a bit smaller. Now it's kind of giving it a 3D look. The petals that are near the back of the flower are much bigger, and the ones that are closer to the front are much smaller. If you notice, like here, your vase isn't touching, you can have it go a little bit higher up so that it is touching. If you want to make a little curve for like the top of the vase, once you have these flowers close to the bottom, you can. Now I'm just gonna go through and make a few more flowers. I'm gonna have some be facing forward, like this one. And some be facing to the side, like this one. Remember, you start with a slightly curved line and then one that is a lot more curved. And on that more curved side, do your little oval. Okay, and once you feel like you've filled up enough, then you can add a little extra texture to your vase. On my original one, I did a curved line like this right in the middle, basically where the two curved sides are. And then on the top half, I did these quick little curved lines. See, I'm not connecting them, I'm doing them really fast. This makes your vase look like it has texture. Impressionist paintings always have a lot of texture in them. Since we're not doing a painting, we have to find other ways to add texture. So doing little lines like this is one way to do that. Now what we are going to do is we're going to be adding some texture using our crayons and our markers to give it that sort of impressionist look. So what I did is I went and I grabbed every type of yellow and orange that I could with my crayons, which was actually more than I thought I would find. I also grabbed myself a brown crayon. And for the vase, whatever colors you want, I did gray and blue, and that's what's in the original painting too. And then if you have it, grab yourself every yellow and orange and brown you have for your markers. If you notice, some of my sunflowers also have green, so you can grab green if you want to. Now I know that's a lot of colors. I know not everybody has all those colors, and that's fine. But you can still get a very similar effect with way less colors than what I have here. So let's start with our ground, adding some texture there. I did yellows and oranges. So what I did is I took my marker and I did these quick little patches. Impressionism is all about quick movements with the paintbrush. And again, we're not using a paintbrush, but we can still do something similar with markers and crayons. So we're doing quick little dashes. I'm gonna fill in the rest of the area with my yellow crayon. The reason I like to use crayon and marker is because they both give such a different look. Crayon is nice because it can kind of blend with each other and it's a little bit lighter, but marker is good to get some bold colors in there and to just be a little bit darker. So we have some nice texture on there. Now let's try adding texture to the vase like I did on this one. Oh, I need a gray marker for that. So what we're gonna do is start on the edge, okay, with your marker, crayon, whatever, it doesn't matter. Do a little bit on the edge, and then you want to do curved lines that are all different lengths. See, and they're almost kind of scribbly and sketchy. Again, that's kind of what Impressionism was it scribbly and sketchiness. Okay, we'll leave it there. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of blue, again, kind of curving the lines if I can, in the middle. And a little bit of gray to fill in the rest, but it's okay to leave some of this white, I think. When you're experimenting with doing this kind of impressionist idea with your crayons and markers, it's good to do mostly crayon and only little bits of marker, because marker will cover everything and crayon won't. So I would be a little cautious with your markers, don't do too much. On the top of my vase, I'm gonna do something similar. Start with yellow on the sides, maybe a little bit on the top of this vase here too. And then do kind of curved lines or patches. And then I'm gonna use this lighter yellow to kind of fill in the rest, but I'm also gonna leave some white. You kind of do this fast as opposed to normal. You don't want to go way outside the lines, but doing it faster will give you a more impressionist look. Now let's try doing some of our sunflowers. Normally they're brown in the middle. Sometimes they can be green, especially when they're new and they're not fully ready yet. So I'm going to do some in blue. So for my ones that face forward, I'm going to do some brown dots in the center for like the seeds. On the sides, I'm going to do some quick scribbles with brown around the edge. See, like that. Then I'll take my crayon, or if you have a light brown marker, and I'll fill in the rest of my center. You could also do greens for some of the centers if you want. I like to do a dark green in the middle and a light green on the outside. You could take your marker and do a little scribbliness on the outside. It's up to you. But now I'm gonna go through and do all my centers. For my ones that are brown but facing to the sides, I skip the dots and I just do some brown scribblies on the edge and then fill in the rest with my crayon. Okay, so that's all done. Now we have our oranges and our yellow crayons. And we're going to primarily use these to do our petals. If you only have markers, then just use your yellow and orange markers and try to do it as close as you can. But what I like to think about is maybe some of my flowers are going to have only yellows, some will have mostly orange, and some will be a combination of all of it. So here's how I do it. I'll pick one. This one will be a combination of all of them. And I'm just going to do these little scribbles, and there's something on my crayon. Gross, oh well. I'm going to do some scribbles with the lightest yellow first. And oh well with the black, not a big deal. I don't know how that got on there. Then I'm going to take my medium yellow and scribble on maybe just the tops. I'm not trying to fill in all of the white, because if I do that, then I can't use my orange. But I'm just kind of scribbling in some parts. Then I'll use my lightest orange on maybe just one of the sides of the petals. The thing is if you do orange all over it, the whole thing's going to be orange. So I'm being careful to only do orange, in this case, on the bottom half of the petal. And I'll use my darkest one on just the top. So I think that looks pretty cool, and the colors kind of blend together, which is fun. I'm gonna go around and do basically the same thing, but maybe some of my flowers will only have the two lightest yellows or the two darkest oranges. You kind of decide. But remember, you're going quick, and it's almost like you're scribbling your colors in to get that impressionist look. And I'm all done with my flowers. Now I'm gonna color in the background. On the original painting, it has a blue background, and I think for this one I'm gonna do purple just to change it up a little bit. All right, and I'm all done with my impressionist sunflowers that we were inspired by Van Gogh for. I think it's really fun to try to do impressionist things with crayons and markers. It's not as easy as paint, but you can still get some really cool effects by it. And I don't know, I really like how it looks. So just take your time, have fun, and experiment with the different ways you can mix and combine your crayons and markers. Alright guys, I hope you had fun making your Vincent Van Gogh inspired impressionist sunflowers today. And I hope you learned some different ways that you can color with your crayons and markers to get different effects. I think it's a lot of fun, and you can always practice it and try new different ways to see if you like how they look. But I will see you guys next time for our next video. Bye!